Welcome back, everybody, to the clown world that is censorship and gatekeeping. I honestly despise making videos on censorship and stuff, even though it's technically always my more popular videos because obviously people are drawn to it. It is something that a lot of people don't want in their content. They love this thing, and yet this other thing wants to ruin it. They want to ruin it for us all. But I have to keep people updated. I think it's important to inform people, to keep people updated on what's happening in the world of anime. And like I said, none of it makes any sense. And we're going to be diving into the world of Harem and the Labyrinth of Another World, which is unfortunately picked up by Crunchyroll. And I have to say, I have a feeling that this is going to be the next Interspecies Reviewers. Now, to give people context that aren't aware, not everybody's going to know what went on with this whole thing, but this is Interspecies Reviewers. Now, back in winter 2020, there was a show called Interspecies Reviewers. It came out, and Funimation licensed it. They wanted to stream it over in the West, despite the fact that everybody's like, whoa, you don't want to touch that. I've read the manga. You can't touch that title. It's just not going to be good for you. But they did. They did it anyways. And unfortunately, at the time, there was a lot of controversy happening around Funimation and certain people that worked there, or at least did work for Funimation. And so, in my opinion, from my perspective, it seemed like it was a no-brainer that they ended up dropping it completely. One said person was working directly on that project, and it seemed like they didn't want that negative controversy surrounding that person at the time. So, Funimation decided to just get rid of it. It's not to our standards. It's too much. We don't want to be seen as this terrible company that would have Interspecies Reviewers, a show that has, adult content in it. But it didn't make any sense. Again, none of this makes any sense. It didn't make sense at the time because everybody's going, wait, but you have this show on there, and you have this show on there. You have all these shows on there that are completely uncensored, and the version they were giving us of Interspecies Reviewers was the censored version. It didn't make any sense. It never makes sense. It's always what's currently in the spotlight that suddenly is important to the company. They don't want you to notice that all this other stuff is there, but they want to claim that they're great because they didn't touch this thing. This is too much. This is inappropriate. Again, I'm not saying it makes sense. To them, it apparently makes sense. Let's be honest, it makes sense to them. It's just whatever works for their agenda at the current time. So jumping forward to now, something came up that I thought was extremely entertaining to myself, despite the fact that I hate everything about it. Again, like I said before, I hate censorship. I hate gatekeeping. I hate everything about companies that are essentially in charge of bringing things over to us and giving it to us that want to put their own agenda into the mix. As Chris and myself were doing the Otaku Spirit Anime Cast, we were going through the list of all the shows coming up in summer. And one such show is Harem and a Labyrinth in Another World. Now, the problem behind this, according to Chris, because he's actually read the source material, is that it has a lot of very questionable content in there. We're talking about characters going to red light district. We're talking about actual, adult interactions that, again, wasn't allowed for this to have on Funimation. Now, Crunchyroll is not Funimation, but Funimation is Crunchyroll. They're all the same company now. We have to now acknowledge them that they're all the same company. And technically, one of the bigwigs that was a part of Funimation, I believe during when this was going on, is now technically the big boss of Crunchyroll. So it brings up the big, important question. Are we going to get the next Interspecies Reviewers? Is Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World going to be the next Interspecies Reviewers? I'm mixed. I'm honestly mixed. Like I said before, it's hard to really peg what's going on at Crunchyroll when they're completely inconsistent. And let's be honest, even back, I'm going to keep picking this stupid thing up over and over again, so I might as well leave it in my hand. Back when this happened, it didn't make sense. Again, there was much worse stuff on Funimation when this happened. Now, again, taking in consideration they were using the censored version, there was much more inappropriate stuff on the site. Yes, this has full-on adult interactions in the bed. So it is technically, content-wise, worse, but you could see so much more in all the other stuff that was on the website. So to try to make sense and really logically think what's going to happen with Harem in the Labyrinth and Another World is difficult for me. But the thing that really popped in my head, and I thought I'd so badly wanted to share it, was this scenario that played in my head when I realized that Passione worked on, I'm doing it again, I'm picking it up again, worked on this and is working on Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. It's the same studio. Now, it's different producers, different, team behind it, but it's the same exact studio. So the funny thing that comes from this is I have this scenario play out in my head. Like, it doesn't fathom to me. Like, my brain can't make sense of it. It was similar, and I'm going to do it again, lifting up again. It was similar to when this happened. I couldn't picture in my head a group of Funimation employees going over to Japan and going, so, what do you have available that we can license this season? And they're like, oh, we're doing Interspecies Reviewers. You should license it and stream it over in the West. And they're like, that's great. What is it about? Because we obviously don't care about source material. We just want the product so we can slamp a label on it and make money in the US. We don't really care, and it's a business. I don't expect them to care. We don't care what's in it. They're like, but the source material, we're going to eventually get into this stuff right here. And like, well, what? I don't know. What are you? Just give it to us. They don't care what's in it. So it boggles the mind when it finally comes over the West and they're having to dub and sub, and they're doing it. They did it. They were legit processing it. They were streaming it. It was up on their website. But it wasn't until a lot of question marks came up that they said, oh, how terrible. Let's get that off the website. We can't have that there. That's too much. We are a very prim and proper company. We can't have this stuff on there. What are we? What are we, one of these adult size? No, we're not. So that gets me to the mentality of how this happened. Like, they legit walked in there and said, hey, what do you guys have for the summer 2022? We want to license your stuff and bring it over. And they're like, oh, it's them again. Aren't you the guys that had Interspecies Reviewers? And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry about that whole fiasco. We just couldn't at the time, but if you have anything else, we would love to get it. And they're like, oh, okay, boss, they want the next project. Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. It's Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. Do you want this? And they're like, yeah, sure, let's take it. But hold on. Similar to this show, we're kind of doing the same stuff. Is that going to be okay? No, we're Crunchyroll now. We're not Funimation. Didn't you see my name tag? It says Crunchyroll now. We're not Funimation. We wouldn't do that. But you're okay because it legit has the same stuff in it. Yeah, it'll be fine. And then they walk out the door and literally over the side, over on the side, Critical Mass is over here going, crap. Guys, get another steelbook case ready. We're going to need it again because they're going to drop Harem and Labyrinth and we're going to have to do a physical steelbook release of it. That's literally the scenario that went in my head. And I'm weird, I know. I laughed out loud by myself, and nobody was around for me to really say because Chris was doing something, and nobody else really cares. So it's odd. It is extremely odd, and it will never make sense. Now, the oddity that's coming from after this is Crunchyroll, their news page, because for those who don't know, Crunchyroll does cover news. They have a news page and everything. One of their writers, at least, felt obligated in some sense to at least inform the Crunchyroll audience through a news article that Harem in a Labyrinth is going to have 3 versions. Yes, they're going to have a TV broadcast version, they're going to have a Harem version, and they're going to have a Super Harem version. Now, what does this mean? This is essentially, they're going to have 3 different brackets that they're going to be broadcasting this on different time slots of different programming. So the TV broadcast version is going to be pretty much, let's face it, the version we're going to get is going to have essentially a censored both video and audio. So all the naughty stuff will have both the visuals and the audio censored. So no hearing moaning, no seeing stuff, no seeing skin. The Harem version is going to only have the visuals censored, but you're still going to hear things. And that's probably going to be more closer to prime time. But the version that's going to be the complete uncensored version, essentially, and they could probably still have an even further version once the Blu-ray comes out. The Super Harem version, that's going to have no censorship, no audio and no video censorship. Now, the oddity here, and this is where I can't figure it out because it makes no sense. They're inconsistent. They're always inconsistent. Which version are we getting? Again, the assumption that most people have is, yeah, we're going to get the full-on censored version. World End Harem all the way. You know, granted, World End Harem actually, I think, had audio, but it's going to be censored to hell. There's no way. But it does make you question, why would Crunchyroll, unless this is just, you know, their news group that's completely disconnected from them and would do something that would completely contradict them, why would they let their audience know on the website that it's going to have it, that, hey, there's going to be 3 versions of this sucker and one's completely uncensored? It's kind of like teasing the audience before you go, but by the way, we only have the censored version. Like, over here, the news group's saying there's going to be a full-on naughty version, and then over here, the actual Crunchyroll leads are going, damn it, now they know. Now they know there's an uncensored. But it could be them realizing they're going to find out. We might as well, report it. But it does make you question, what is the odds? What are the odds that this will be the one time they finally go, let's open up the doors. Let's open the floodgates. We have a gate. The gate says you have to say that you're old enough to watch this before you can go in. Why not open it up? Why not have all 3 versions on the website? It's not going to hurt nothing. But again, are they going to be willing to basically deal with that controversy? The controversy that they believe exists. The 2 people on the social media that say that it's terrible and should not be on their website. Will they go bend to their needs, or will they bend to the needs of everybody that's going to watch the show that wants it uncensored? I don't know. Again, there's no consistency whatsoever to Crunchyroll or Funimation previously. None of it makes any sense. We have literally this back and forth. Akudama Drive, violence is censored. Then we get Shiniki Tosen, which is completely uncensored, but that's technically the only version they had. And then you get cases like Interspecies Reviewers, where they completely remove it from the website. And then you have cases like Valkyrie Drive Mermaid, that is, it's the Blu-ray uncensored version. They just dropped Dead Man Wonderland on their website, and guess what? It's the uncut version, but not the Blu-ray version. The uncut version is, yeah, it shows a lot, but there's still like these black blobs that will cover like limbs that have been torn off. The original Blu-ray version was completely uncensored. You could see all that stuff. But then yet, Valkyrie Drive Mermaid, they put the Blu-ray version, the one that wasn't even on Funimation's website, they put that on Crunchyroll. It's completely inconsistent, and I can't make heads or tails of it. But I will say this: I wanna have fun here. Despite that, I want to have fun here. I do believe Harem in the Labyrinth and Another World, depending on which version they get, will probably be the next Interspecies Reviewers. If they get the TV broadcast version where everything is censored, I don't think we'll have a problem. It'll be World's End Harem, basically. They'll show the whole thing. But I want to believe that if we get anything Harem or higher, again, the video censored but not audio, or completely uncensored, I believe it will be removed from Crunchyroll before it ends. I believe it will be the next Interspecies Reviewers. And it's not just because of the adult content. It's because there's a lot of other stuff in there. I've been told by my brother that it technically covers forced servitude, stuff like that, that is going to create all these little controversies that will slowly creep up to the point where they're gonna walk away from it. And I honestly do believe that. I don't want that. And I'm sure Critical Mass would love that because they'll probably sell plenty of steelbooks for it. But I don't want that, honestly. Either way, if they do get anything but the Super Harem version, I'm not watching it on Crunchyroll. I won't. There's no need to. Now, I will say, I want to give... I like to be in the middle. I like to make sure that everybody gets their dues. I believe that it's not always the decision by the localizer what they get. In some cases, I've heard, through chirping here and there, that sometimes they don't get the choice. They don't get the version they always want. Sometimes they'll want the ATX version or the Super Harem version, and they're just not allowed. Because that's the version that they don't want. There's essentially an issue with backwards importing, basically. where there's some cases where Japan will release things or they'll broadcast things, and they don't want people in Japan to go to outside countries to get the content back to themselves. It's a big deal with certain things like importing and stuff like that, that we will get something and we'll do a better job of it, or we'll have a version that they can't get over there, and they will backwards import it, and they don't like that. So I do want to give a caveat here that it could be that Crunchyroll goes to them and they don't want them to have the Super Harem version. So keep that in mind. I don't like to completely bash a company. I like to at least observe all sides of the argument. But anyways, this turned out a lot longer of a video than I thought it would. I think I have a little bit too much fun with this, but I hope that you guys were entertained at least, and we'll see where things go from here. Like I said, it's clown world. Nothing makes sense in the world of Crunchyroll, Funimation, Sony, and censorship and gatekeeping, and I don't think it ever will, just because everything is case by case. It just depends on who speaks up at what time that things happen the way they do. And I really do believe that's what's happening with everything coming over from Funimation to Crunchyroll's platform. We're getting such a scattershot of things that are censored or uncensored. I can't get any response out of Crunchyroll when I ask them directly about things like Akudama Drive being censored for its violence, when they had an uncensored version on Funimation's website. And yet, again, Valkyrie Drive Murder Maid comes out and it's completely uncensored. The Blu-ray version of it to boot. Nothing makes sense, and I don't think it ever will. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of this whole topic. What are your thoughts on it? I definitely love hearing from you guys, but additionally, it also technically helps with YouTube algorithms. Additionally, the other way that you can help us is to share this video out. I would greatly appreciate it if you consider supporting us through Patreon or through our tips link. We also have a super thanks button down there. I definitely appreciate everybody that supports us, because I'm sure this will be demonetized. And y'all take care.